My name is Florence, and I am a writer. Since I was young, I loved pens, books, and the way stories could change people's hearts. Writing is not just my passion, it is who I am. When I married Jack, I felt like my dreams had come true. Jack was kind, gentle, and very loving. He respected my work, encouraged me to write more, and often told his friends proudly, "My wife is a writer." She sees the world differently, and I learned so much from her. At first, even my mother-in-law, Ava, was very kind to me. She welcomed me warmly into her home and treated me like her own daughter. She would ask me for advice, involve me in family matters, and often say, "Florence, you are a blessing to this house." Those words made me feel safe and loved. Life in the beginning was beautiful. Jack and I laughed together, Ava supported me, and even the neighbors admired how close our family seemed. Every evening, Jack and I would sit on the balcony with tea, and I would share little pieces of writing with him. He always listened carefully and gave me his opinions, but slowly, things began to change. Ava had a daughter named Lily. She was younger than me, unmarried, and very different from me. She was bold, outspoken, and always wanted attention. At first, I tried to be friendly with her. I thought maybe we could be like sisters. But Lily never truly accepted me. She looked at me as if I had stolen her place in the house. She started with small comments. One afternoon, when I wore a blue dress, she laughed and said, "Lily, that color doesn't really suit you. You should try something darker to hide your flaws." I smiled politely, trying not to take it seriously. Another day, when I cooked dinner, she tasted the food and told Ava, "Lily, it's fine, but Mom's cooking is always better. Florence still has to learn." Ava didn't defend me. She just nodded. At first, I ignored these little things, but soon, Ava herself began to change. She listened to Lily more and more. Where once she had asked for my advice, now she only asked Lily. When Lily complained about me, Ava believed her point. One evening, I entered the living room and overheard them talking. "Lily, Mom, Florence acts too proud just because she writes. She thinks she's smarter than us." "Ava, you're right, darling. I don't know why I trusted her so much. Maybe I was too kind." My heart sank. These were the same people who had once embraced me. Days turned into weeks, and the distance grew. Ava stopped praising me. Instead, she scolded me for little things: if I forgot to close a window, if I came late from a workshop, or if I spent too much time writing. Jack noticed the tension, but he didn't want to upset his mother or sister. So, he stayed silent. His silence hurt more than their words. The breaking point came one night at a family dinner. Some guests were over, and we were sitting together at the table. Out of nowhere, Lily said loudly, "Lily, you know, Florence wastes so much time with her silly stories. Real women know how to run a household, not just sit with a pen." Everyone laughed politely. Even Ava smiled in agreement. I looked at Jack, waiting for him to say something. But he lowered his eyes and stayed quiet. That silence cut me deeply. That night, as I lay awake in bed, I realized something. I had lost the respect I once had in this house. I was no longer seen as a daughter, not even as a wife who deserved support. I was seen as weak, as someone they could insult without fear. Tears rolled down my cheeks, but inside my heart, another fire was burning. I told myself, "Florence, you are not weak. You are a writer, a thinker, and you know how to turn pain into strength. If they want war, you will not fight with shouting or anger. You will fight with intelligence. And you will win." That was the night I decided I would take revenge, not by lowering myself to their level, but by showing them my true worth. After that painful dinner, I changed. I stopped waiting for Ava's approval or Jack's defense. Instead, I began to watch carefully, like a quiet observer in my own house. I noticed that Lily loved attention more than anything else. She wanted people to see her as talented and intelligent, but the truth was she had no patience to actually create something. She wanted shortcuts. One afternoon, I was at a community workshop where I read a small essay I had written. It was about family trust and respect. People clapped warmly, and a local teacher even said, "Florence, your words touch the heart. You must publish them." 2 weeks later, my eyes froze when I saw almost the same essay published in a small magazine, under Lily's name. She had stolen my work. At first, I wanted to scream. But then I smiled to myself. Good, Florence, I thought. This is how they will expose themselves. Just be patient. I saved the magazine as proof and said nothing. Meanwhile, Ava grew colder towards me. She criticized my clothes, my cooking, even the way I spoke. Sometimes in front of Jack she would say, "Ava, Jack, you used to be so lively before. Now with Florence, you hardly smile. She has no charm." Jack would get uncomfortable and leave the room. He was torn between me and his mother, but his silence was slowly breaking my heart. But instead of drowning in sadness, I put my energy into my work. I began organizing writing workshops for young women in the community. At first, only a few came. But soon, word spread that Florence's workshops were healing and inspiring. More people joined, and my reputation started to grow. One evening, after a session, a woman told me, "Florence, you don't just teach writing. You teach us how to heal." Those words gave me strength. Every time Ava and Lily tried to push me down at home, I was rising higher outside. Still, I did not stop observing. I kept notes of Ava's harsh words, and sometimes, I secretly recorded conversations on my phone. Like the day when Ava said to Lily, "Ava, she came into this house like an angel, but you are right, she's a burden. People see her as good, but only we know the truth." "Lily, don't worry, Mom. Soon, everyone will see what kind of person she really is." I saved that recording. Piece by piece, I was collecting the puzzle of their hypocrisy. At the same time, I worked on something bigger. I decided to plan a literary evening for the whole community. The theme would be Home and Heart, Family Voices. It would include speeches, readings, and sharing real experiences about family life. When I announced it, people were excited. Even Ava and Lily agreed to come, because they enjoyed social gatherings where they could show off. Jack also promised to attend. The weeks leading up to the event were busy. I worked late at night, preparing a special presentation. It wasn't just about literature, it was about truth. A truth that Ava and Lily had hidden for too long. On the night of the event, I stood in front of the mirror in a simple but elegant dress. Jack looked at me and said softly, "Jack, you look beautiful, Florence." I smiled faintly. Part of me still hurt that he had stayed silent for so long, but tonight, he would see everything. As we drove to the hall, my heart beat faster. This was no longer just about revenge. It was about dignity. About taking back the respect I deserved. When we entered, the hall was full. Guests were chatting, smiling, and waiting for the program to begin. Ava and Lily sat proudly in the front row, unaware of what was coming. I took a deep breath. The stage was mine. The moment I had been preparing for had finally arrived. The lights dimmed slightly, and the program began. The host welcomed everyone and introduced me as Florence, a writer who inspires hearts. People clapped, and I walked to the stage. My hands were steady, but inside, I could feel the fire of months of pain turning into strength. I spoke calmly at first. "Florence, tonight is about family, the love, the misunderstandings, and the truths that often remain hidden. Words are powerful, and tonight, I want to use words not just to heal, but to reveal. People leaned forward, curious. Ava adjusted her shawl, smiling proudly as if the evening would make her look good. Lily sat straight, pretending to be confident. The program began with a few community members reading poems and short stories. Then came my turn for the special presentation. On the big screen behind me, I played an audio clip. Ava's voice, recording Florence is like my daughter. She is wise, and I trust her more than anyone. The audience smiled. Ava herself nodded, pretending to remember. Then, without warning, the next clip played. Ava's voice, recording, she came into this house like an angel, but you're right, Lily, she's a burden. People see her as good, but only we know the truth. Gasps filled the hall. Guests turned their heads towards Ava, whispering. Ava's face turned pale. She looked at Lily in panic. Before they could react, I calmly continued. Florence, sometimes, people wear two faces. One for the world, another inside their own home. Tonight, I want you to see both. The next slide appeared, a photo of the magazine article Lily had published. On the side, I displayed my original essay dated weeks earlier, word for word. Florence, plagiarism is theft. What hurts most is not that my words were stolen, but that they were stolen by someone who calls me family. The hall buzzed. People stared at Lily, who sank lower in her chair, her cheeks red. Florence, turning to the audience, respect is not built by stealing others' voices or by tearing down those we claim to love. Respect is built by truth, loyalty, and kindness. The room was silent except for a few whispers. Jack looked at me with wide eyes, realizing the depth of what I had endured. He stood up slowly, walked to the stage, and placed his hand on my shoulder. Jack, softly, but everyone heard. Florence, I'm sorry. I should have seen this sooner. That moment shook Ava. She lowered her head. Lily's eyes filled with tears, but not of regret, of shame. I ended my presentation with a simple line. Florence, family can break you, but it can also make you stronger. I choose strength. The audience clapped, not just politely, but with real feeling. Some stood up. A few women in the crowd even had tears in their eyes. They had seen the quiet cruelty of Ava and Lily, and now they saw the truth. When the program ended, people surrounded me, praising my courage. They ignored Ava and Lily completely. A neighbor whispered near them, loud enough for others to hear, all this time we thought Florence was lucky to have them. But now we see it's the other way around. That was the sweetest revenge. The evening ended, but the echo of that night stayed alive in everyone's mind. As we walked out of the hall, I noticed how people avoided Ava and Lily. Where once they used to be surrounded by admiration, now they stood in silence, eyes down. Trying to escape the whispers. At home, the silence was heavy. Ava sat in the living room, her hands shaking slightly as she poured tea. Lily disappeared into her room, slamming the door behind her. Jack and I sat opposite Ava. For a long time, no one spoke. Finally, Ava looked up at me. Her voice was softer than I had ever heard it. Ava, Florence. I don't know what to say. I was blind. I let jealousy and Lily's words guide me. I forgot who you really are. I didn't answer immediately. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions. At last, I said calmly, Florence, respect once broken is not easy to rebuild. But admitting the truth is the first step. She lowered her head, ashamed. That was enough for me. Lily avoided me for days. But one morning, she knocked on my door. Her eyes were red, her voice trembling. Lily, I was jealous of you. You had what I didn't, respect, talent, love. I thought if I ruined you, I could shine. But now, everyone sees the truth. I've lost everything. I looked at her carefully. Part of me wanted to say harsh words, to throw her mistakes back in her face. But I didn't. Florence, Lily, jealousy eats you from the inside. If you want to shine, create your own light. Stop trying to steal others. She didn't reply. She just nodded and walked away, carrying her guilt like a heavy bag. Meanwhile, Jack began to change. He no longer stayed silent. If Ava or Lily ever tried to say something negative, he defended me immediately. He also encouraged me to publish my book. Jack, the world needs your voice, Florence. And I need you to know, I am on your side, always. With his support, I finished my manuscript. It was based on everything I had lived through, about betrayal inside families, about strength, and about finding dignity through truth. When the book was published, it touched many lives. Letters came from women who said, "Your story is my story. Thank you for giving me courage." At the book launch, people gathered in a hall much larger than the one where I had revealed the truth months earlier. Ava and Lily also came quietly. This time, they didn't sit proudly in the front row. They sat at the back, silent, watching as the community clapped for me, as Jack stood proudly beside me. When I signed copies, Ava approached me. Her hands trembled as she placed the book in front of me. "Ava, Florence. Can you sign this for me too?" I looked at her. For a moment, I remembered the pain she had caused me. But then I remembered something greater. Revenge was never about destroying her. It was about reclaiming myself. I signed the book and wrote a single line inside, "To Ava, respect is the root of love." Her eyes filled with tears. That night, as I stood on stage with Jack, I realized I had won. Not just over Ava and Lily, but over my own fear. They had tried to break me, but instead, they had made me stronger. My revenge was complete, not through shouting, not through anger, but through truth, intelligence, and dignity. And now, whenever I look at my book on the shelf, I smile. Because I know that the best revenge is not destroying your enemies, it is proving that you can rise higher, no matter how much they tried to pull you down. I am Florence. A writer. A wife. A woman who turned betrayal into strength. And this is my story.